Silver Doctors live afternoon stream. Excited to be back for another episode with my better half, Paul Half Dollar. Paul, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good today, Mike. How you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Looking forward to having another great show. And as you guys can see, we did something a little bit different. Decided to go ahead and live up to my promise of providing us a number to call in. So for those that are watching, if you actually want to have your voice be heard, there's a number, 567-336-0844. Give us a call, and we'll see how it turns out, how it works out for us. So that being the case, welcome to the live stream, everybody.
Yes, welcome everybody. It's going to be a good one too, because we don't have, we're not Dave Ramsey with all the phone call screeners on us.
Exactly.
So we can't filter out any of it. That's going to be some pretty raw and rough stuff going on, I have a feeling.
Yes, it will be. So it's going to be fun, though. So let's get into it. So with that being the case, give it a second, and then we can acknowledge a couple people. So as more people chime in, hopefully everyone's being notified. Let us know where you're watching from, and we'll definitely acknowledge your presence and welcome you to the stream. We got DD Prepper, says silver, gold, and precious things, tangible assets, period. I like where you're going with that. All right, so with that being the case, until we get more people logged in, we'll get back to some shout-outs and then go from there. So, Paul, let's let's get started with today's subject matter. As people can tell from the title, it's about your thoughts about silver and gold getting pounded, possibly. So lay us out what you got in mind with that.
It is. Well, it's fundamental in nature, the things that I want to lay out today. But there's basically two things that I think are going on, which are saying that if the cartel wants to come in and pound gold and silver prices right now, I think that they have plenty of room to do it. And I say that for two reasons. We've been getting a lot of excitement in the gold and silver sector and a lot of talk about the gold and silver mining companies. Mm-hmm. And I released a video on Monday just talking about, how to pick gold and silver mining stocks. Just a very basic, we didn't even talk about specific stocks. We just talked about, just basic, how to invest and trade, not giving advice, but just talking about like what are some things that a person should know, right?
Yeah.
And there was no interest in it at all.
Yeah. So
what is that telling me? Well, that's telling me that there's just still not the interest coming in droves like people think there is. Mm-hmm. So that's point number one. And then point number two that I wanted to make is, this is what I call like the stage of like denial and avoidance, just of economic reality that's going on.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I keep hitting on is this concept of mixed signals. And we got mixed signals again just yesterday, and it has to do with this type of avoidance and denial. Mm-hmm. For example, just yesterday, not just yesterday, it was on Monday. I wrote about it yesterday, mm-hmm. But on Monday, right, President Trump retweeted, and I don't know if you saw that one pic that I showed you, but it was a retweet of Vice President Pence mm-hmm. tweet, right? And what Pence said was, I'm here with Ben Carson's, and we're going out to the great state of Michigan, mm-hmm. and it specifically said, like, real Donald Trump's economic policies are working, and they're bringing all this great stuff to American families. And he specifically said Michigan. They were going to Michigan to praise President Trump's economic policies.
Yeah.
And on that same day, right, U.S. Steel announced hundreds of layoffs in the state of Michigan on that very same day. Right. Yeah. So which is it? Or is it all these great policies doing all these great things for all these American families in the manufacturing sector? Or are we seeing mass layoffs, which we're actually seeing, right?
Yeah.
So you can claim one thing, but when people lose their jobs, that reality just kind of, hits you in the face right there.
Yeah, I do agree 100%. And watch this in regards to, so you hit about 3 or 4 different points there. So let's go back to the first one. Then we can work our way back to this one. As far as silver demand. And so I believe that a good portion of the people who are a part of the lack of boom in precious metal sales amongst retail investors is more so those that are already prepared. So it's the people who know about the importance of silver and gold and just precious metals in general. They're the ones that's probably increasing their whole, their stash a little bit more. Whereas we got to realize the mainstream financial education is that gold and silver is not money. They still calling it a commodity. And so when you have majority of the world that sees it as a commodity, because it's a part of a basket of goods that trades on the COMEX and all the futures aspects, they don't even consider it money. So it's not until they see gold and silver as money that people will start to really rush in to be acquiring it or redeeming those paper notes and digits for metal. So I think we got a long way to go, or until the real crunch begins, where people realize that, hey, I'm hearing a lot about gold and silver going up, but yet my food and cost of living is getting more expensive. Let me switch boats. And so I think we got some time before we actually get to that point of the retail crowd rushing in. So yeah, that's just my little thoughts on that one.
Yeah, good points. And on top of that, we also have the, pump the cryptos to go along with that. And that's part of it too, right? Because, who wants gold anymore? We got something even better than gold, and it's called cryptocurrency, right? Which, we know is not the case at all.
Yeah.
But, that's what they like to put out there. So yeah, and in addition, I'm getting I'm seeing an uptick in the hate email that's coming in, right? Talking about, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You guys are just, silver pumpers. You guys have no idea what's going on in the economy or markets. So whenever I see an increase like that in the emails coming in, you know that something is about to happen, right? Because it's like the tensions are just like right here. So when people take the time to create a fake email account to email news@silverdoctors.com to say, hey, and then write in my style, right the way that I write, that's something that I'm really making people upset about this, which is good, right? Because it means that we're at some sort of inflection point where people are just at the end of the ropes on this. I think that it's coming with a hit to the downside in price, because the cartel can always make more money smashing price than letting price rise. And while they still have control, they still have control, so they can do these kind of paper attacks. We often call it the wash, rinse, repeat cycle. And we haven't been in that yet, so we haven't had this flushing out of the speculators. And I think that it can be especially brutal this time, more brutal than people are thinking, because of the fact that A, there's a lack of interest. B, there's still these mixed messages all over the economy, with the dollar, with the trade wars, with what we're just talking about with Michigan and the steel worker jobs, and then also just with the increase in hate mail. So there's just so many reasons that lead me to think that people are talking about $1,500 in gold being a floor. I don't think so. I think that that's going to end up being resistance, and then people are going to be like, oh, we're never going to break through 1,500. So we'll see. Additionally, on top of that, the Jackson Hole, right? The famous Wyoming Fed and central banker and VIP meeting that happens once a year is going on, and Powell takes center stage on Friday, so I think they're going to prep the markets for that too. So, I really think the pressure, I said the pressure was going to be coming. I thought it was going to come hard on Sunday night. We got some pressure. We got some price going downwards, but I think it's going to be, throughout the rest of the week here too.
Yeah, I agree. In regards to the hate mail and that stuff like that, to me, that's just an indicator that you're doing something well, because you're starting to really get under people's skin or get people's attention. So keep doing what you're doing, my friend. You do a good job of writing some articles over there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's the thing. The biggest, it's going to be hard to continue to keep people in the dark about reality, because they're going to be feeling it pretty soon, if not already. So I think more hate mail and all that other stuff will come along with the job. So congratulations, sir. You've made it.
Yes. So one of the things I want to do, I don't know if you want to address like the people in chat and say hi or something like that first.
Yes. Feel free to do that. Okay, go ahead. Let's do that. All right. So we got a couple people tuning in thus far, and as always, as you guys can see, we have a number. I'm waiting on our very first call so that we can see how this turns out, because once again, the first time always is the roughest time, but I got a feeling I probably did this right. So the number, 567-336-0844. Give us a call, the first brave soul, to let us know what's going on, or just to let us know what's on your mind. Either one. But get to the chat. Okay, we got Harry Honkinen says Reggie Middleton and Veritasium. So I can share my thoughts with you briefly on that one. And so, not sure, Paul, I know you don't follow the crypto sector as much, but Reggie Middleton, a financial investor / possible disruptor, his project, Veritasium, last week, the SEC decided to send him a letter freezing all his assets, yada, yada, yada. And so Veritasium is a very interesting project because it's a software-based service that, of course, has a token behind it, but it is positioned to disrupt a lot of things that Wall Street has been profiting off of for a century plus. And so it's interesting how, as it's getting more popular, the SEC steps in and decides to smash it. But yet, as of yesterday, he wrote a 400-page rebuttal to the SEC, and it's looking like he can stand his ground. So it could be a turning point in the crypto sector in reference to that. So I think, as I mentioned before, Veritasium to me is an interesting project. So if you're aware of it, definitely do what you do. But I do believe Reggie will be vindicated soon in regards to the things he's been charged for. So we'll see. But my little 2 cents there.
Yeah, I don't know. What about the guy who made those Liberty dollars, right, way back then?
Yeah.
And he was putting like $20 on them for silver. And they confiscated all his stuff. I think he did jail time. They were charging him as a terrorist.
Yeah. Now watch this. To my knowledge, if I could be wrong, but yet a part of that whole situation there is the fact that he was calling it a dollar. And so apparently that word dollar, you can't sell and advertise people to people that you're selling dollars as well, because that's a competitive sense. So I think that probably right there was the wrong thing to do. And then on top of that, he probably added all types of things. So no doubt, if anything poses as a threat or a risk, they probably will find something to try to shut you up real quick. So
Mike, do you remember I remember in North Carolina, Carrboro was trying to do this right out the sister city to Chapel Hill, where the University of North Carolina is. They were trying to do this for a while, I think, and lots of little local areas tried to do this, where they have their own little paper currency. Have you ever seen that? And they always fail, right? Yeah. Where are they? Yeah. So the same thing is going to happen with the cryptos. I don't want to knock it. I don't want to bad talk anybody, but then another thing is I don't know the case of Veritasium, so I'm not speaking of this, but just for example, for Bitcoin, right? Yeah. Ask somebody, what exactly is one Bitcoin, right? You can't define it. It's undefined. And I mean, there's just so many, I don't even want to get into it, but I can blow any of the questions away, because there's just so many problems one way or another. Yeah. But this whole thing reminds me so much about all of these local currencies. And this was in the late 90s and in the early 2000s, when the local currencies started coming around. And you could trade them in for hours of work, and then you could take it in and you could use that to pay for some soup at a local restaurant. It's give me a break.
Yeah. And so I don't agree entirely, because the difference between the paper currencies is that they're literally paper in a small community, whereas in just the blockchain theory and nature is global. And it's through the internet. So as long as the internet is up and running, there's going to be a way that people can transact amongst each other, peer-to-peer. I'm more interested in the peer-to-peer side of things, of being able to directly do business with you without having to go through 2, 3, 4, 5 intermediary parties to get you, $10. If I can just send it directly to you, I'm happy with that. Or if I can give you a silver ounce one day just directly in your hand, that'd be great. So, but yeah, the peer-to-peer aspect is what's exciting. And I think eventually all the stock listed companies, they're going to eventually go to the blockchain in nature. Now, I don't know if it'll be public transparency as far as them shares and who owns what and what wallet, but they're going to have to acknowledge the presence of this new technology, or newest technology that's being used, and we'll see how it's going to be implemented. But it's one of the things where I don't think it's going away no time soon, because it's what we're being conditioned to accept. So by design, of course.
Right, and blockchain is not going away. And I like blockchain, but all it is the technology, right? It's like email, right? Yeah. Blockchain is like email. So, and then you use different, AOL, right? Whatever happened to them. Or, Netscape, right? Whatever happened to Netscape. So, all of these things get built on top of the technology, which is fine. But as far as all of the staying power to the name brand cryptos, I don't think that it's there.
All right, So, Paul, I don't mean to cut you off, but it looks like we got a call. So let's see what's going on. So, hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan. How you doing? What's on your mind this afternoon, my friend? Thanks for calling in.
Okay.
Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Well, my question is, on CNBC, is Steve Weissman what should I say, almost a pure...
Hello? Let me see if you're still around. 1 second. So this is the kinks that you got to work out with the phone, but I got some about Steve Weissman, so let me try to connect in a different way and see if it works. Hello, you still there?
Yes.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Now finish that question you had for us.
Yeah, whether Steve Weissman is almost a paid, how about shill for the Federal Reserve?
Steve Wiseman is whether or not he's a paid shield for the Federal Reserve. Steve Wiseman. So I'm not even familiar with Steve Wiseman. So Paul, are you at all familiar with that?
Oh, he's on CNBC.
CNBC. So watch this. Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna pull him up because more than likely, like everybody else, he has a job to definitely not reveal the truth to the public. So whether he's a paid shield or just a person who reads off a teleprompter, he has a job just like everybody else, and it's not to tell the truth. So that's my initial thought. But Paul, you got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that's my thoughts too. I watch absolutely zero television. I literally watch less than 4 movies a year, and that's because I unfortunately get dragged to the movie theater 4 times a year by my family.
Yeah.
I watch no sports, so I'm not sure who he is. But if he's on CNBC, there's definitely going to be, the mainstream propagandist narrative, which is, all lovey-dovey with the Fed.
Yeah. So I'm looking at, so I just pulled it up on the screen. So we got Steve Liesman. So his last name is Liesman. If that's, so that just.
Oh, right.
His last name is Steve Lies, like Leis man, a senior economist reporter. So of course, I know without even knowing him or not even really following this guy, his last name lets me know kind of probably how he fits the bill for a person that just does what he's told to do. That's all. He has to make a paycheck. And he's not really about telling the truth because he'll get fired. So that's my thoughts on Steve Lies man. My opinion.
Okay.
But I appreciate you calling, my friend.
I have a second question.
Actually, I only can take one because I have somebody else on hold. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Adam from California.
Adam from California. How you doing, Adam? Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind today?
So I just wanted to know if you guys had any update now that many of the J.P. Morgan traders have admitted to metals manipulation. If there's going to be any follow-through, like a group lawsuit to punish J.P. Morgan for the manipulation.
Ooh, that's a good one there. I would imagine that someone will attempt to try to start something like that, but because it goes a lot deeper than just the people who were used as puppets to plead guilty, I think that it wouldn't make it to trial for any type of result that would be pleasing to the public, because if they admit that it's literally a systemic issue, then they're going a lot more bigger and higher wigs will have to come out, and I don't think they want that. So I don't foresee anything that's going to be favorable for silver coming out of this whole situation about people being charged and convicted type of thing. So, Paul, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, there was just a name yesterday. I can't remember. Christian Truns or something like that was the latest one to plead guilty. He could face up to 11 years. Another JP Morgan trader. I think about it like this, right? Because the SEC and the CFTC and the DOJ, they all have this, if you've been a victim and if you want this or if you want that, the issue is, there's millions and millions and millions of people who have been victims of this precious metals price suppression that's been going on for decades. Mm-hmm. So, it would literally bankrupt the entire world. So I don't know how it would sort out either. And surely I would think that the lawyers would be making a pretty penny off of it one way or another. And I think it would settle out of court before anything would happen. Yeah. Or it would simply be kept and swept under the rug as a national security issue. They use national security issue for anything and everything. And then just the refusal to look at it in a court case. I think that those could be some issues there as well. For a long time I held on to, they're finally doing something. They're finally getting rid of all these manipulators. But, it's really just the individual traders, but it doesn't get to the systemic risk of it. It goes along to that, don't stick your head up too high or it's going to get cut off. That's kind of what this is with these individual traders. You single out a couple people, but the systemic problem is still there. Right. I don't know.
It seems to me that this would give the ammunition to GATA to make a bigger case about what they've been claiming for the last 10 years, that this is coming from the federal government down.
Yeah,
got a good point. So I think they definitely can use all this information to build a much stronger case as far as Bill Murphy and all those guys. But it's once again, when you got an entity or a small group of people up against an entire behemoth of a